Hi, and welcome to the Christian Gamer channel. I'm Paul, and I'm using this space to share my insights from the Bible. I want to be clear right up front. I don't claim to have any special authority. I'm not a pastor, a theologian, an apostle, or anything special. I'm just an ordinary person who reads their Bible and wants to share what I've learned with the wider community. Because of that, your personal insights are absolutely no less valid than mine. I strongly urge you to join the conversation. If you disagree with anything I've said, or if you want to add something you think I've missed or glossed over, you are actively encouraged to do so. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments or even share a link to your own video. I know sharing biblical insights can be intimidating, especially in an age where simply trying to tell the truth can risk persecution or the fear of it down the road. But remember, God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and self-control. So let's not be afraid to stand firm and share our faith and insights with courage. Okay, let's do this. And for today, which is Advent Day 16, so Psalm 69 verse 8 in the King James Version reads, I am become a stranger unto my brethren, and an alien unto my mother's children. And in the English Standard Version we read, I have become a stranger to my brothers, an alien to my mother's sons. And the New International Version reads, I am a foreigner to my own family, a stranger to my own mother's children. Many scholars see Absalom's revolt in 2 Samuel chapters 13 to 19 as the most likely and profound context for the deep sense of betrayal expressed in Psalm 69. Absalom's revolt was a catastrophic civil war where David was forced to flee Jerusalem by his own son. His trusted counselor Ahithophel famously switched allegiance to Absalom. David experienced mass defection and insults from the populace and former allies, for example, Shimei, who cursed him as he fled. This period provides the most compelling backdrop for David's lament. I am become a stranger unto my brethren, and an alien unto my mother's children. A civil war led by his own son would cause deep, painful divisions even among David's closest family and supporters. Now, this is a tremendous lament from King David, who laments that the very people who are supposed to be closest to him have rejected him and are treating him like a stranger. Imagine the sense of betrayal David must have felt at the time he wrote this psalm. Now, looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls, 4 Qumran Psalms, fragments A and B, the fragments from the Qumran caves confirm the text of Psalm 69 with the superscription of David. This shows the psalm was viewed as Davidic in authorship by the Qumran community. While the Dead Sea Scrolls fragments of Psalm 69 do not contain explicit commentary, the overall context of the Qumran community provides a lens for reading the psalm. The Dead Sea Scrolls community, often identified with the Essenes, saw themselves as the true Israel, suffering persecution and isolation, strangers in the land, from the corrupt religious establishment in Jerusalem. The psalmist's complaint of being hated without cause in verse 4 and being an outcast from his brethren in verse 8 perfectly aligns with the self-image of the Qumran community. They would have read the psalm as a lament for their own experience of righteousness, suffering and separation. Therefore, they likely understood verse 8 as a literal description of their own spiritual and physical alienation from mainstream Judaism. Now, the Targums are Aramaic paraphrases or translations of the Hebrew Bible, originating from the 1st century of the Common Era. They often offer a blend of translation and interpretive commentary. A Targum on superscription, The Targum on Psalm 69 offers a non-Davidic national interpretation for the psalm's heading, the word Shoshanim. It renders the term as concerning the removal of the Sanhedrin, or concerning the captivity of the people of Israel. This interpretation connects the suffering to a specific national tragedy, either the loss of the Jewish legal authority, that is to say the Sanhedrin, or the agony of the Jewish people in exile. Now the Targum on verse 8 translates or paraphrases the estrangement in a way that emphasizes the severity of the rejection. And an alien unto my mother's children. The Targum renders, as the son of the Gentiles to my mother's children. This reading intensifies the meaning of alien. The psalmist is treated not just as a distant relative, but as a complete outsider, a Gentile or non-Jew, by his closest kin. The emphasis remains on the acute pain of being rejected by one's own people. Now we're looking at later rabbinic literature, that's the Midrash, the Talmud and later commentaries. In rabbinic tradition, Psalm 69 is primarily interpreted in two ways, Davidic and national or exilic. The Davidic interpretation, several traditions cited by Rashi, the most famous medieval commentator, and others, explains the rejection of David's brothers. David's father, Jesse, had doubts about the legitimacy of his own marriage to David's mother due to complicated laws involving his ancestry from Ruth the Moabite. Out of fear of sin, he ceased marital relations with his wife, though she later became pregnant with David. As a result, Jesse and his older sons believed David was born from an illicit union and was potentially a bastard, that is to say, a mamzer. The Hebrew word for stranger, muzar, in Psalm 69:8, has a root similar to the word for bastard, or mamzer. This wordplay is central to the interpretation, I am become a muzar, or stranger, unto my brethren. In this view, the psalm vividly describes David's suffering as an outcast within his own family, the most profound form of personal rejection, right from his youth, which explains why he was left out in the field in 1 Samuel 16:11. Now the national or exilic interpretation, often the I of the psalm is understood to represent the entire community of Israel, particularly during the various exiles like Babylonian or Roman, etc. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch in the 19th century, this modern era yet traditional commentary on the verse interprets it through the lens of Jewish endurance in exile. The Jewish people, remaining steadfast to God's law, became a stranger and an alien to their kindred nations, like Edom or Esau or Ishmael, and the Gentile nations around them who often persecuted them. The suffering is collective, borne for the sake of God and their commitment to his house, in verse 9. And turning to the New Testament, he came unto his own, and his own received him not. The English Standard Version reads, He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. And the New International Version reads, He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. And Jesus was most certainly rejected by his own. Mark 3 verse 21, we read that Jesus' own mother and brothers came to collect him because they thought he was out of his mind. Mark 6 verses 1 to 6, Jesus was rejected in his hometown of Nazareth. Luke 4 verses 16 to 30, after reading the scroll from Isaiah 61 1 to 2, which we looked at on day 12 of Advent, the people became enraged and tried to push him off a cliff. John 6 verses 41 to 71, many of his own followers who followed him all the way around the lake of Tiberias because he had fed them, grumbled against him when he claimed to be the bread of heaven. And Matthew 27 verses 20 to 26, at his trial his own people rejected him, asked for Barabbas to be freed, and demanded that Jesus be crucified. Now, so much of Psalm 69 anticipates Jesus' life, it is hard to deny its messianic theme. The unjust hatred in Psalm 69 verse 4, which you can compare to John 15:25. The zeal for God's house in Psalm 69, the first part of verse 9, compared with John 2:17. The hatred of God falls upon him, and the second part of Psalm 69 verse 9, compare that with Romans 15 verse 3. The gall and vinegar, Psalm 69 verse 21, compared with Matthew 27:34 and John 19:28 to 29. And the consequence of betrayal, Psalm 69:25, compared with Acts 1:20. In summary, Psalm 69 serves as a prophetic script that maps out the emotional and physical suffering Jesus would endure from his passion for the temple to his final moments on the cross, and even the fate of his betrayer. Okay, so these are just my lessons. If you have different lessons, please feel free to leave them in the comments. A godly life is not a popular or comfortable life. King David is commonly believed to be the most righteous king that there ever was, yet he had people hate him without cause. Indeed, David himself said that the reason for their hatred was his zeal for the house of the Lord. Likewise, Jesus Christ, the most perfect man, who is God in the flesh, was hated and rejected. If we are to be followers of Christ, then we should not expect to be popular or well liked. Hatred, including undeserved hatred and rejection, even from those closest to us, should come as no surprise. Jesus himself said that you will be hated. That's in John 15 verse 18. And the second lesson, scorn and rejection, even from family members. It's not just strangers that will hate us. Indeed, we'll probably find more acceptance from strangers than from our own family. David became a stranger to his own family, and Jesus was rejected as mad by his own family. We can't hold our family so dear that we are willing to put them ahead of God. Check out Matthew 10 verses 32 to 38 for that one. And the Christian response to rejection. When rejected, David poured out his feelings in prayer to God and created Psalm 69. When we are hated and rejected, it is only natural to respond by mirroring the emotions projected onto us, returning hatred with hatred, rejection with rejection, and to store up the negative feelings inside us. But this is not the healthy or godly way to deal with rejection. Christ has taught us that we must pour our pain out to the Lord in prayer until we are able to return hatred with love and rejection with compassion. And the key takeaway from all this, have we truly counted the cost of becoming a Christian? It's easy to say we love God over and above everyone else, but how many times have we denied Christ like Peter denied Jesus before the cock crowed? How many times have we squirmed when asked, "Are you a Christian?" because we are not strong enough to face rejection or antagonism, especially from the people we care about? How many times have we put our loved ones ahead of our commitment to God? Loving our friends and family members and co-workers is a good thing, but loving them so much that we try to water down the gospel, or worse, deny that we are Christian, is not really loving them, and it's certainly not loving God. In this current age of cancel culture and near universal rejection of Christian values, we need to remember more than ever that we can't serve two masters. We must decide at heart level where our loyalties truly lie. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Please don't forget to leave a comment if you have anything that you think I've missed or glossed over, or anything you disagree with, or anything you'd like to add. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's video.